So a lot of students I hear talk about how there's a lack of communication in terms of events and news that's going on at the school. So whether it's like they're not sure if it's an odd or even day because it's a weird schedule that week, or is there advisory today, is there a club meeting after school, etc. So what I wanted to do for my senior project was try to make this process more efficient of communicating information in the school. So what I did was I decided to create a Bow High School app. So it's currently only for Android. I hope to move on to iOS in the next semester, just kind of as a personal project. So the idea behind it is that you can have, there are news stories and events that are posted on the app by administrators, and this can be from any topic that's going on at the school. So it is on the Google Play Store, and I encourage you all to install it if you have an Android, and hopefully as more people download it, it'll be used more frequently. So the idea is that it consolidates all of the information and news that's going on at the school all in one location. So you don't have to go around looking in Google Classroom, emails, the website, other individual club websites, etc. So in order to make a successful app, there's certain things you have to keep in mind to keep users engaged. So the three main aspects of this I focused on for my research project was design, user interface, and the release of the app. And notice how none of these actually involve how the app works. It's mostly, because how the app works, as a user, you don't really care how it works. You just want it to work quickly and efficiently, and it's easy to use. So for design, something I thought was actually interesting, I had never really heard of it before, was up in the top left you can see the different, that diagram with all the different colors on it. It's called a thumb zone diagram. So it's, if you're holding your phone with both hands, it's where it's easiest to reach with your thumbs. So you want to put buttons that would be being pressed commonly in the green section, whereas something like a delete button that you don't want users to accidentally press would be in the corners where the red zones are, to prevent accidentally deleting something you didn't want to. In terms of the user interface of the app, a common misconception made for newer developers is that you want your app to be seamless throughout all the different platforms. The two main platforms right now are Android and iOS, but this isn't true necessarily. You don't want it to be seamless between the two platforms. You want to make it sort of designed for that specific platform. So an example would be on Androids, for any of you that use Androids, oftentimes there's a slide menu that slides out from the top and or from the side, and it has different subsections of the app you can go to. Whereas in iOS, oftentimes there's a menu on the bottom, like the App Store, and you can click all the buttons on the bottom, and that's how you navigate through the app. So those are just some examples. There's a lot more. There's even, it goes down to like the font you use and certain text size that you use in different apps. So it's important to incorporate the platform-specific guidelines so that the users will be sort of comfortable using your app, even if they've never used it before. So, and then when you release the app, it's not a one and done deal. You don't just release it and then sort of forget about it. You want to continuously update it, whether it's fixing bugs in the program or adding new features. So I've updated my app 3 times since I released it in December, and a couple of those were fixing major and minor issues in the app, and others were just, I had a few people test it and they gave suggestions on what I should add, so I added those. So for the app itself, I'm going to show a couple of screens and sort of explain the different features that it includes. On the left side of the screen, that's what you see when you first open the app. So it shows the 10 most recent posts that have been added, and that's the format of almost every sort of news screen in the app. So it has a bunch of different stories in chronological order that have been posted, and then if it gives a title and a quick blurb, and then if you click on it, it'll give you more detailed information about what that story is about. So, and then on the right, that's what an admin will see. You guys will not be able to see that because you don't have the admin password. So certain teachers and students will have that, and they'll be able to post stories. And the key idea behind this is a tag system that I incorporated into the app. So when they post a story, if, for example, it's a weather alert because there's no school that day because I had a snow day, then they would put a weather tag on it, and then that's how the database essentially sorts the information and the different stories on it based on what tag that story has. And so this is on the left screen, that's what the menu looks like. This is where the tags come into play mostly, where you'll see there's like events, news stories, sports. So depending on what it's tagged with, that's what it'll be under. So if you go to the sports section, only stories that have been tagged with sports will show up in that section. So if you're only interested in a certain area of sports, or a certain area of story that you want to look at, then that's where you would go. And then, so to add even more variability, I guess, and customization to it, in the settings, I have an option for you to subscribe to different posts that you are most interested in. So if you weren't in NHS or you didn't play sports, you don't really want to see that necessarily in your subscription feed. So you can just subscribe to whatever you want to see. And then if you go to the subscription section of the app, you will only see stories that relate to what you're subscribed to. And then the information side of it, currently I just have all the different clubs that the school has. So it has a brief description, who runs it, so that if you were looking at joining a new club, you could go in there and look at it. And I'm also hoping to incorporate a teacher directory in the future, so that if you needed to find a teacher contact information, then you could do that as well. And so how it works, I programmed it in Android Studio, and that's a software specifically designed for Android app development. And it's mostly programmed in Java and XML. XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. It's essentially how I make the app look how I want it to look like. So if I add a button or text or color or anything like that, that's all done in XML. And Java is the more logic side of the programming, where I tell the program, okay, when this button is clicked, you need to open this section of the app, or store this in a database, or display this story, etc. And so to give a bit of perspective of how much goes into an app, and this is keep in mind, this is a fairly simple app in the whole scheme of things. There are a total of 571,846 lines of code that are in this app. Most of that is auto-generated. I didn't write that much. A lot of it's just generated by the program itself to make what I sort of understand what I programmed and then do stuff with that. And I estimated about 8,000 to 9,000 of those lines, roughly, is what I myself wrote. And yeah, so whereas if you can imagine an app like Snapchat or Instagram or Clash of Clans, anything like that, where it has a significant amount of data that it's handling, that would get into the millions, and it would get very complex. So, as you can probably tell, I really like programming and computer science, and so because of that, I wanted to relate my community connection to mentoring younger students in this area. So, for the past semester, I've been a coach at the Bow Elementary School's first LEGO League. So I helped them build the robot, program the robot, and then they've gone to a competition. So I help out with all of that. And I really enjoy watching them program it and build it, because a lot of them, this is their first time ever dealing with robots, and they've never programmed something like that before. So when they first program it and watch their robot, crawl around the crater or something, the different pieces of the game that they have, the excitement on their face is really fun to watch, because they are like, hey, I did that, and they really enjoy it. So I think it's really important for them to gain this confidence early on, because it builds the foundation for a potential future passion in STEM and its related fields, and it can also potentially lead to a future lifelong hobby or even career in the field. I think it's a really fantastic program they do, and I really hope it continues, because I think it's great for the kids. And I am very thankful to have been a part of it. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Do you know if any teachers or other students are going to carry on with this app?
Yeah, that's been a thought of mine, because yeah, I was thinking about, in terms of posting stories, maybe Talent Talk, whoever runs that, could keep running it. In terms of fixing bugs and stuff, I don't know. I'll figure that out though.